Welcome back to Rarest Photos. Yeah, I've been busy all week long. I'm so sorry I haven't gotten any reading done for y'all. Got my hat right here. I guess I could mess my hair up. I don't know. A tie and a hat? I'm not sure, but we'll do it anyways, right? So, we're reading From Here to the Great Unknown. Okay, and hey, if you haven't found my Facebook, it's facebook.com just caught me not wearing my dress socks. I couldn't find, we didn't wash my dress socks this last week, so got my whiteys on. Anyhow, find my Facebook. It's facebook.com/@JoeSinsRareElvisPhotos. So same name as here, except add Joe Sins Rare Elvis Photos, and you'll find me. Anyhow, this is probably going to take us to the end of the book. It's been emotional. It's been an emotional roller coaster ride, and I appreciate y'all being with me on it. So yeah, and thank you for those of you that sent me super thanks last week. Thanks for checking on me. I'm hoping I can be more consistent like I was for a great period of time. Work has really picked up in a sense. A lot more responsibilities, a lot more duties. Much more difficult to get reading in that's undistracted. But let's go ahead and get started. Thank you, by the way, for you members and subscribers, brand new ones and existing ones. All right, so Riley was talking about the last time that she had seen her mom. They had dinner on Elvis's birthday, and she thought that she had a sense of sadness and resignation, and she was worried. She really hadn't seen her like that before. She said something had left her. A couple days later, I went back to Vancouver, where I was filming a show. I found myself checking in via text more than usual, but she was less responsive than she normally was, and my worry deepened. On the morning of January 12th, my mom texted my dad and said, "Can you please help? My stomach's hurting worse than ever. Can you bring Tums?" Now, I'd been having a beautiful morning with the baby. I had texted my mom the day before, and she hadn't responded, which was really unlike her. When my dad called, I knew something bad had happened. "It's your mom," he said, "and it's not looking good." My heart stopped. By the time he had gotten to her with the Tums she'd asked for, the housekeeper had found her on the floor. "They think she's had a heart attack," he said. "She's in an ambulance now, and they're trying to resuscitate her." Well, I went right to the airport and got the first flight I could back to LA. For the whole car ride, and then while I was in the air, my dad and my husband were texting me. "They're at the hospital now. She's still alive. They resuscitated her. She has a pulse now. They're doing a scan to see what happened." So I had my best friend with me on the plane to help with Tupelo. At some point during the flight, my friend said to me, "People live through heart attacks all the time." I looked at her and said, "I don't think she's going to live through it. I don't think she wants to." We were flying somewhere over Yosemite, and I looked down at the wilderness below, covered with snow. Tupelo was screaming and crying by now, and she's not a big crier. Everyone notices that about her, that pretty much all she does is smile. So we'll walk through the neighborhood and people will say, "Oh, look, she's smiling at me." And I always hold myself back from saying, it's really nothing personal. She smiles at everyone. But sitting on that crowded plane, I could feel that my baby knew something was terrible, and something terrible was happening. Now, when Tupelo was still in utero, there'd been a moment the doctor told us that she was underweight. My mom said to me, "Talk to her spirit, tell her to try to gain a little weight and she'll hear you." So I did. I put my hand on my surrogate's belly at lunch one day, and in my mind I told Tupelo to try and gain a little weight, a little bit more weight before her birth. Somehow she ended up gaining the perfect amount, and maybe it worked. While on the airplane home, I felt like my mother was between two worlds, being resuscitated, falling, resuscitated, falling. I wanted so badly to be there with her, spiritually at least, and tell her that I supported whatever she wanted to do. Well, I closed my eyes and talked to her spirit just like I had Tupelo's. If you need to go, go. If you need to stay, stay. We were somewhere due west of Death Valley when the text from my dad stopped. I couldn't bear the silence for very long, so I texted him, but I already knew. It was 5:18 when my father texted, "She's in cardiac arrest again." Oh God. 5:19 he wrote, "Can you call me?" "No, I'm on the plane," I wrote. At 5:20 I wrote, "Is she dying?" My dad didn't respond for 4 minutes. I wrote again, "Did she die?" I waited, then his reply arrived. "She passed on a few minutes ago, honey. Didn't want to tell you by text, but I'm worried it's going to hit the papers. I love you so very much. I'm really sorry to tell you this. I didn't want you to be blindsided when you get off the plane." My father was my mom's biggest protector throughout her whole adult life. She had many friends that came and went, but he was there from when she was 17 until the moment she died. He was the last person with her. So once again, that tells us that the decision to pull the plug, to do not resuscitate, came from not Riley. Came from either Danny or Priscilla, whoever had that power. So anyways, I mean, that's all fodder, food for fodder. Don't really know who made the decision, whether Danny and Priscilla made it together, whether Priscilla made it alone, whether Danny made it alone. I don't know. We were still half an hour from LA, and Tupelo had finally calmed enough to sleep a little bit, and I quietly sobbed, trying not to disturb the passengers around me. The world that I'd taken off from in Canada that morning was not the same one that I landed in at LAX that night. I didn't recognize this strange new planet. It was already a place for that for 2.5 years. It had been so painfully empty of my brother, Ben. And now it was empty of my mother, too. I wondered how many times a heart can break. As we sped away from the airport, I remember seeing people walking in and out of a brightly lit 7-Eleven. Nothing had changed for them. Of course it hadn't. Time did its stretching and contracting. Here we are again, I thought. I know this. When my brother died, I was hit with the realization that he was nowhere to be found on Earth. I could travel anywhere and never find him. No matter how far I flew, how far I drove, how far I walked, he was gone. I remember driving through Northern California and passing an immense expanse of empty farmland and thinking that he wasn't in there either. He could never be found, no matter how hard I looked. Now it was the same feeling with my mother. So that's always a thought. Some folks think when a red sparrow flies by your window or lands at your window, it's your loved one coming back. My wife and I have talked about that. You know, losing our baby, Anson. We always seem to get a red sparrow that comes to our window here and there. And it's a comforting thought. Is it real? Is it true? We don't know. None of us really know exactly. You know, there's the Christianity thought that, you know, that we will be with God at the end. But, there's ideas of purgatory. There's ideas of being at rest until the final calling. There's ideas of reincarnation that are out there. But Riley, whether she's still in Scientology or not, I don't know. She doesn't think he's anywhere on the planet. And that probably means in spirit as well. But I don't know. Because didn't she talk about, or Lisa talk about Ben telling her certain things in her spirit, in the mind? I don't know what y'all think about that. I mean, everybody has a different thought. I'd really like to kind of hear what your ideas are, because I believe all of us have lost loved ones. My brother John, when he passed away a few years ago, was reaching out. And he died on the same day my brother Philip died, by the way, years apart. My brother Philip died in 88. My brother John died in 2021, I believe it was. 21 or 22. Can't remember now. Okay, here we go. She was like a character from the Greek myths. She had human emotions, but she was such a force that sometimes I really thought if she focused hard enough, real thunderbolts would appear. Her power and strength frightened people. See, she had an uncanny ability to look right into your soul, and she was able to truly, unconditionally love. She had definitely been reincarnated royal every time. My dad and I would joke that if God had ever asked her to come back not as a royal, she would have declined his offer. She might have wanted to come back as a normal person, because royals are all cursed infinitely. You know, the Kennedys, the Presleys, the actual royals seem to be pretty cursed. My mother was Princess Diana, right? My mother was the only person who would say no to God. The night before the funeral service, close friends said goodbye to her in the chapel at Graceland. The next day, we held service at Graceland. All of her friends, everyone who ever loved her, attended, including people she hadn't seen in years. Everyone she had jettisoned before she fled to England, just everyone. A choir of her friends sang, and what began as an incredibly traumatic and painful morning ended up in a celebratory dance party, just like the ones we used to have back in the day. The same people, the same songs. We all felt she was there. I couldn't speak, so my husband read my eulogy, a letter to my mama. Now, I put that on the channel almost as soon as it happened. I read it for y'all. It's sweet. It's making me emotional before I even read it again here. Thank you for being my mother in this life. I'm eternally grateful to have spent 33 years with you. I'm certain I chose the best mother for me in this world, and I knew that as far back as I can remember you. I remember everything. I remember you giving me baths as a baby. I remember you driving me in my car seat, listening to Aretha Franklin. I remember the way you'd cuddle me when I'd come to your bed at night, and the way you smelled. I remember you taking me for ice cream after school in Florida. I remember you singing me and my brother lullabies at night, and how you'd lay with me until we fell asleep. I remember how every time that you'd leave town, you'd bring me a new tea set from Cracker Barrel. I remember all the notes you'd leave in my lunchbox every day. I remember the feeling I'd get when I'd see you picking me up from school, and the way your hand felt on my forehead. I remember how it felt to be loved by the most loving mother I've ever known. I remember how safe it felt to be in your arms, and I remember that feeling as a child, and I remember it 2 weeks ago on your couch. Thank you for showing me that love is the only thing that matters in this life. I hope that I can love my daughter the way you loved me, and the way you love my brother and my sisters. Thank you for giving me strength, my heart, my empathy, my courage, my sense of humor, my manners, my temper, my wildness, my tenacity. I'm a product of your heart. My sisters are a product of your heart, and my brother is a product of your heart. We are you, you are us, my eternal love. I hope you finally know how loved you were. Thank you for trying so hard for us. If I didn't tell you every day, thank you. And I think Riley did tell her mother a lot. Now, when Lisa was going through a lot of the addictions that she was dealing with, and they had kind of, in a sense, grown apart a little bit, because Lisa didn't want to be mothered by her daughter. Maybe that might be the only times that there was a lack of that, I think. She seems to be a very loving daughter, and Lisa loved her children very much. But this is the final paragraph. The service ended, and night fell. My mom's casket was laid across a golf cart, just like the one her father had given her decades ago. The one that had given her her first taste of freedom. All of her closest friends and loved ones followed the golf cart and walked my mother from the chapel. Interesting. Walked my mother from the chapel to Meditation Garden in the backyard of Graceland. We laid her to rest next to my brother, across from her father. It's a pretty little poetic thing to take your final ride, not necessarily in a hearse in a sense, but across a golf cart from the Meditation Chapel to Graceland. Very thoughtful. if you don't have this book, get it. You know, my wife and I attended Riley's book event in Nashville. We both got copies, autographs, but I mean, autographs don't matter much to me. They never really have, but that's Riley's autograph right there. I may read this over on my Facebook channel again. I don't really know. I really need to focus on this channel mostly. The Facebook channel is going to have a lot more kind of short content, pictures, stuff like that. I don't know how much long stuff there's going to be on there. Book reading is going to be mainly here, and then maybe I'll share it over there on the Facebook. But it's probably still worth joining. So Joe Sins Rare Elvis Photos. I appreciate y'all very much, and it's sad that we've come to the end of this book. We have more to read. We got to finish Child Bride. We've already finished Elvis and Kathy. We still need to finish June Monico and Elvis. Good Rockin' Tonight, The Faith of Elvis. We got to finish that. The Anne Margaret book. I haven't done any reading in a while there. Anyways, TCB TLC till next time. Enjoy From Here to the Great Unknown, the song I wrote for Lisa.
Heaven has a special place for angels just like them, those that gave their everything and sang those precious hymns, like where no one stands alone, and how great thou art. Sure they were less than perfect, but that they shared a giving heart. From here to the great unknown, they found a way into our hearts and homes. Elvis and his sweet Lisa Marie won't be forgotten for all of history. They have gone where no one stands alone, from here to the great unknown. One was born in 1935, as poor could be. The other born in 68 to music royalty. From here to the great unknown, they found a way into our hearts and homes. Elvis and his sweet Lisa Marie won't be forgotten for all of history. They have gone where no one stands alone, from here to the great unknown. One was born in 1935, as poor could be. The other born in 68 to music royalty. From here to the great unknown, they found a way into our hearts and homes. Elvis and his sweet Lisa Marie won't be forgotten for all of history. They have gone where no one stands alone, from here to the great unknown. No one stands alone.
God bless all of you. Stay safe. God bless Lisa, Ben, Elvis, and all those that have gone before us. Until next time, this is Joe Sins with Rare Elvis Photos.